Welcome to another episode of the Bottom of the Stream Movie Show. My name is Adam.
My name's Nick. We are back. We are watching a movie which we have dredged up from the bottom of the Netflix stream. And we're hoping to find a hidden gem. Which does occasionally happen.
It does occasionally happen. It's one of those things. You personally have dredged this one up this week.
I have. We did not randomise this week's choice, for I have played my wild card.
He has indeed. Every season, Nick gets a wild card, I get a wild card, and our Patreons get a wild card. That means we give Robin the week off, and they pick the movie, and whoever picks the best one by the end of the season wins a prize.
Indeed.
So Nick, this is Nick's attempt for the season 9 trophy. How do you think you've done? We'll find out. Don't ask that.
Who knows?
We will find out as we go through this episode. That's kind of the point. This week, Nick chose a movie called The Waterman. The Waterman was released in 2020. It is a PG. It runs for 1 hour and 31 minutes. Currently rated at 5.5 on IMDb and is a Netflix original. Although I have a story.
Or is it?
Or is it? This film is billed as a Netflix original on Netflix.
Okay.
The poster, most versions of the poster don't have the Netflix logo on.
Oh, okay.
The film was made by Disney.
Intriguing.
And was then passed upon after completion.
Right.
And Netflix purchased it and released it as a Netflix original.
And I think it's fair to say, if you've been following the wave the last few weeks and months, that we're only going to see more of this.
Yep.
We've talked recently about Disney filming whole seasons of shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then deciding they're going to sell them on.
I don't want it.
They've also sold off, took stuff off Disney Plus, sold them elsewhere. Netflix have done this as well.
Yeah. This was before Disney Plus was a thing. Though.
Yeah,
this was,
yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting story, but it is a Netflix original. This film stars David Oyelowo. That's not how you say it, but that's what I'm calling him, Oyelowo. He plays a character called Amos Boone. You will know him. He's most famous. He was in Selma.
Yeah,
the movie. He played Martin Luther King Jr. in that. Most recently, he's in Silo, the Apple TV TV show that I've been watching. That's really, really good. He's the main character in that until he isn't. Also, this film stars Rosario Dawson. She plays Mary Boone, Amos's wife. She's most famous, probably for Sin City.
Yeah,
I think
I'd say so.
I think so. More recently, she's been in Ahsoka, the Star Wars TV show that's on Disney Plus currently. Plays the title role in that, I believe. Now, third build in this film is Alfred Molina.
Yeah, that's not fair on the two actual leads of this movie.
Yeah,
because he's in
2 scenes.
You say technically 2 scenes.
He's in 2 scenes.
The second scene is basically a line.
Yeah, but he's in the scene. This is a film about 2 kids, and the top 3 credited people in the film are 3 adults.
Yeah, very ageist, that is.
It is. So Alfred Molina, he plays a character called Jim Busey. You'll know him. He's Doc Ock in the Spider-Man universe. He was in Fritos in Boogie Nights. He's been in loads of stuff. But the 2 people that we should mention in this before we talk about the movie, the main character in this movie is a guy called Lonnie Chavis. He plays Gunnar Boone, the son of Amos and Mary Boone, and Amiah Miller.
Yeah,
she plays Joe Riley. Amiah Miller, you may know, she's in War of the Planet of the Apes. She's been in a few different films, but that's probably the biggest one she's been in. Lonnie Chavis, however, has not really been anything you will have heard of, I don't think.
Okay, fine.
Although he is a fully fledged working actor.
Good for him.
He does a lot of Disney stuff. He was in Disney's Magic Camp. He's in Supergirl, the CW TV show.
Okay.
He's in that for a bit.
Good.
This Is Us.
I've never watched it, but that's quite a big thing.
Yeah, so he's been in a few bits, but he's the main character in this movie. This film was written by a lemma. This film was written by a character. Fuck's sake. This film was written by Emma Needle. Emma Needle has no other credits at all on IMDb other than this film. But it was directed by David Oyelowo.
Yeah.
After the original director quit.
His directorial debut.
It is his directorial debut. He was cast as the actor and then taken over the directorial duties when the original director left the project. Nick, do you have a one-word review of The Waterman?
Water palaver. Just wanted to really say palaver.
Palaver's a good word, isn't it?
I don't think it gets used enough.
Doesn't. We should use it more. Let's have a palaver about this movie. Where does this movie start, Nick?
We get a legend
We do.
We get some text to start us off.
We do, but I don't have it.
No.
Sorry.
Well, it's fine. It's basically telling us the story of the town of Pine Mills, or the village of Pine Mills.
Yes. For this sort of
And
set.
that legend has it, a shadow figure roams around with a fiery chest.
A fiery chest.
Yeah. And then we cut to a lovely drone shot of a kid scootering through a cemetery.
He is indeed. A kid scooters through a graveyard is my first note. And he comes across a funeral that is happening currently. When he gets home, it turns out...
He just observes it.
Yes, he's just watching from a distance. He's not being disrespectful or anything like that. When he gets home, it turns out he's writing a graphic novel. This kid's an artist. He draws. Yeah. And he's writing a graphic novel. And it's basically a story of a homicide detective who is investigating the murder of himself.
Yes, because he is a ghost detective.
It's a great idea, ghost detective.
Yeah.
Then we cut to an image of a man driving through this same town. This is David Oyelowo, David's character, Amos, the gunner's father.
Yes.
And this is a typical American backwater town, I think. There's almost some shots of like people sitting on stoops and rocking chairs and things like that. That's what the vibe we're getting of this town.
I think they've recently moved to town.
Yep, they have recently purchased a house in this town and have moved there.
And the kind of setup is that Dad has returned from military service.
Yeah,
so he's not been around much.
Yeah, he's been in the Navy.
And essentially the reason he's come back is because Mum is not very well.
Yeah, she is sick. She's taken ill. He takes home Chinese food. They have some dinner. Gunner's reading Sherlock Holmes stories whilst he's eating his dinner. And he just drops into conversation that he went exploring around the town today.
Yeah.
And he went to a funeral.
Yeah.
Which his parents are not that impressed about. So they're like, you can't just go to people's funerals. That's disrespectful.
Essentially, the dad Amos says that's a bit odd, son.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
You're not invited. You that's not very respectful.
So his mum sits him down and talks to him about it a bit more like a grown up. Gunner actually says he preferred it when his dad wasn't there.
Yeah.
They discuss life and death and that sort of stuff while this is going on. And the dad's listening outside the door. Yeah. He hears all of this.
And she sort of sings him to sleep, doesn't she?
Yeah. The next morning, the dad, Amos, walks into the room and he's got a football. And he wakes up Gunner to go out and toss the football with him before school or before wherever they were going. And then he accidentally destroys this kid's comic book.
Yeah, because Gunner's left like a pot of ink open on the floor, and the dad sort of trips over it and he spills a load of ink on some of the pages of this graphic novel. Yeah, which obviously doesn't help in the terms of building this relationship.
No, absolutely not. The pages in this book are really thick, and I can't tell if I'm turning more than one or two. That night, he hears his mum coughing quite badly in the bedroom, and I think they're trying to keep this illness away from him a little bit. They're not secretly keeping it from him, but trying not to expose him too much.
It's not a family that talks, or more so. I think the vibe I got from it is that they are all three of them struggling to adjust to the change in dynamic, which is Amos being back at home full time. Yeah, and also trying to deal with this situation that's going on as well. Yeah, it's not easy for them. Amos comes home whilst this coughing fit is happening, and he panics. He rushes into the bathroom to make sure she's okay. And whilst he's doing that, Gunner goes off and he manages to find some medication that Mary's taking. And then we see him scooting off to the local bookshop. We know he's already made friends with the local bookshop lady. He's well into his books. Yeah, they're on first name terms.
He's read like 20 books that she's already lent him, and he's only been there a couple of days.
Because she's like shocked that he's bought.
Yeah, I think she got to chapter 7
less than a week.
She got to chapter 7 in the book they'd agreed to read, and he'd read 10 other books as well. So he takes all the books back, and he says, "I need every book you've got on leukemia." So he's figured out from the meds that he found what's wrong with his mum. When he gets home, she's really not well in bed. There's like nurses moving. It's not a
montage, but
no, it's not.
But it's like
time has passed, I think.
Yeah, and it shows that her condition is worsening because there's, as you say, there starts to be visits from a carer.
Yeah, there's nurses at the house.
There's a drip by the bedside now, and
And Gunnar confronts one of the nurses and he's like, I think you've got my mum on the wrong meds.
Yeah, she should be on.
She should be on. Yeah, and the nurse just dismisses him.
Well, the nurse says that's not my call. I'm not a doctor.
Job. Yeah, and just leaves. So he's a bit annoyed by that. He goes for a bit of a ride around town on his scooter, and he stops when he sees some graffiti on the wall.
It's like an abandoned farmhouse type thing.
Barn type building, and it just says the Waterman on this graffiti with like a shadowy figure, and there's loads of bikes outside, loads and loads of bikes outside. So he goes to investigate. He goes in. He stays out of sight, but what he sees is a load of kids sitting around, getting a TED talk from an older kid. Basically, there's a girl there telling the story of the Waterman and how she knows who he is. She knows where to find him.
Yeah, she says, I've seen him.
Yeah, I've seen him. And she's conning these kids out of money.
Yeah, she tells so much of the story, and then she says, if you want to hear the rest, you need to cough up.
You need to give me some money.
She walks around with a...
And this is a local legend that all these kids are obsessed with. Every town's got the local ghost story, haven't they? And it's like these kids want to know more. Gunnar then goes home. He leaves that scene. He goes home and he draws a portrait of this girl that he's just seen.
Yeah.
She's got like blue hair, and she's distinctive looking.
What we've not mentioned is... So it happened a couple of times already, and it will happen again through this movie, is when he draws his graphic novel, those pages kind of come to life on the screen.
That's how they're showing his imagination.
Yeah,
isn't it? They're showing his...
And I quite liked how that was done.
Yeah, I agree. I did as well. Dad's cooking dinner. He's exploring more about the leukemia in the books that he's reading.
Yeah,
but he also finds a book, and in it somebody's written almost like an essay on the Waterman.
Yeah, there's someone's handwritten notes
inside a book that he's found. So he's like,
of their research, basically.
Yeah, and this guy's it's just got the word like immortals underlined.
Yeah, it mentions there's hints that basically this guy can live forever.
Yeah, so that pricks Gunnar's interest, and he's like really interested in learning more about what this man is. So he goes to visit the man who wrote this book, or notebook, or whoever's book it was. And this is Mr. Boosie, which is Alfred Molina's character. And he knocks on his door, turns up at his house.
He's like local crackpot,
local crazy person. I think he's like a undertaker or something along those lines.
The family name was on a funeral director's card.
So he knocks on the door. The guy thinks he's being pranked because kids must turn up at his door all the time. But it's not a.
Gunnar says, I swear, it's not a joke. I'm trying to find out about
the Waterman. So Boosie invites him in. He tells him absolutely the Waterman is real. And he tells him the story of the Waterman and who he was. And this is where we find out the backstory of what this character is. So basically, the story is that the Waterman is a guy called Edward Sharl, who was a local miner.
Yeah.
He was mining obsidian, I think he said, which is just a worthless rock that didn't mean anything. And one day he found this unusual rock, which was like a glowing yellow colour.
Sure.
So he takes this rock, and that night, the dam that was holding back the water from the town bursts and literally wipes out the entire town.
Yeah, the entire village.
Everybody's dead. When the investigators turn up, they find this whole town has been drowned. Bodies everywhere. And except for Edward Sharl, who wakes up.
Yeah.
He is immortal. And since that day, for the last 100 and however many years, he has been searching for his wife's body in the local woods.
Yeah, because he wants to bring her back to life.
Because he has the power to bring... And there's stories of animals being brought back to life and all this, using this rock.
And Boosie says he went to look for the Waterman himself.
Yes.
When he was younger.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want his dad to die, because his dad was ill. And he says, I went looking in the woods for, in my spare time, weeks after weeks, and I marked where I'd looked by hanging black rocks.
Obsidian rocks.
Pieces of obsidian from the trees. But now he's like, obviously I couldn't find him. My dad passed away, but he still believes this story.
He absolutely believes this man is 100% real. At this point, I'm like, okay, I'm buying this. I'm into this. I'm like, that's an interesting story. I like the build-up. I like where we're heading. I'm into this movie at this point. Just want to put that out there to let you know. He gives Gunnar a map. Gunnar says, can I take the map? He's like, you absolutely can take the map.
Yeah.
no problem. Gunnar goes home and compares it onto like a Google Maps type
He does.
idea to try and figure out where it is.
And he finds a shack
Yes.
by a lake. By the lake created by the bursting of this dam.
Yes.
Years and years ago.
Then he heads out into the main portion of the house. He walks past the bathroom and he accidentally sees his mum without she wears like a headdress all the time.
Yeah.
And she hasn't got it on and she's completely bald and it
Yeah.
proper freaks him out. I think he really realizes that's the point where it all sinks in what's happening.
Yeah, he starts screaming, doesn't he?
Yeah. And his dad comes out. His dad does not comfort him in any way. He actually shouts at him, upsets him quite badly.
He's like, pull yourself together.
Yeah. It doesn't go down well with Mary either. She's like, I can't believe you spoke to him like that. So the next time we see Gunnar, he is packing a rucksack.
Yeah.
He's taking some supplies, including a samurai sword.
Yes.
Which his dad hangs on the wall in the lounge.
And he gets a load of cash out of his E.T. lunchbox.
Yes, he's got an E.T. lunchbox.
And I think it is fair to say that, amongst other movies, is definitely an influence to this one.
Yeah, 100%. So he heads back to the place where he saw the girl earlier on. He goes there. She's not there when he gets there, but she eventually comes in.
She's kind of got a tent out the back of this.
Yeah, she lives there,
ruined...
basically. This is where she's been living.
Yeah.
She's not much older than him. She's probably a couple of years older than him, maybe.
Yeah,
I think he's supposed to be 11, so maybe she's like 13, 14. But yeah, she lives there, and she's like, yep, I absolutely do know where the Waterman is. I know who he is.
And Gunnar says, well, I'm going to find him.
Yeah.
And she shows him the scar on her neck and says, the Waterman gave this to me.
Yeah.
And basically says, if you give me all your money, I'll take you to him.
Yeah, we can go. I'll come with you. We'll go exactly where he is. Not a problem. But I need all of your money. And she's like, but the woods are really scary.
Yeah.
It's not a fun time. But they make the deal.
But Gunnar kind of negotiates it down a bit. He says, well, some of this money is for supplies.
Yeah, we need to go get supplies.
I need to go and do some shopping. And basically, you can then have the rest.
Yeah, whatever's left.
That's what they agree.
She agrees with that. Meanwhile, while this is all going on, Amos notices that his sword's gone out of his lounge.
He does, but there's kind of quite a nice touch, I thought, because he's wandering around the house and he goes to will he open Gunnar's door? And he chickens out, doesn't he?
Because he knows he was in the wrong by shouting at him last night. He wants to give him some space, but then he notices the sword's gone.
Yeah.
Then when he goes in to check on Mary, who's either asleep or unconscious at this point, there's a note next to her bed that just says "Mom" on it. So he now knows that something's not right.
We don't see exactly the contents of the note, but it's paraphrased a couple of times, and Amos says it says I've gone to save you.
Yeah, I know how to make you better, or something along those lines. We next see Joe and Gunnar in the local store. They've gone to get some supplies. The guy in the store is suspicious of them.
Yeah,
quite quickly. They buy things that kids buy.
Cans of
peaches.
I think
they buy cans of peaches.
Bars.
She steals some candy bars, which Gunnar's not happy about.
He's quite suspicious of them because they're carrying a samurai sword.
Yeah, they have got a samurai sword. But Gunnar manages to talk his way out of it with this guy because he notices a navy hat on the.
Yeah, he notices a veteran. Yeah, he tells him about his dad,
and then he pays for the supplies, and they leave. Meanwhile, Amos goes to the police. He wants to report his missing child.
I totally forgot. The sheriff is like Maria Bello.
Oh yeah, I'd completely forgotten that.
Enough for quite a big actress, isn't it?
There's quite a cast in this movie when you think about it. So he goes to report it to the sheriff. The note actually says, "I know how to make you better."
That's it. Yeah.
They head off into the forest. They go to eat some of their peaches. Realize that they haven't taken a can opener.
Yeah.
Rookie error. But they do have a samurai sword.
Handy.
So Joe uses the sword to open a can of peaches and gets absolutely covered in peach juice, which Gunnar finds very funny.
Yeah.
He laughs a lot at her, and she doesn't like being laughed at. So that's their first disagreement of this.
Indeed.
This trip. Amos, meanwhile, hasn't informed Mary of her missing child.
In fact, he actually lies to her.
He does, yeah.
She says, I've been so tired today, I've not seen Gunnar. And Amos essentially says, well, he's been out playing all day, exploring, and now he's gone to bed.
Yeah, he's asleep. Buys himself some time, basically.
Yeah.
He goes outside to ask some kids if they've seen him, they know who he is, etc.
And their first thing they say is, oh, no, we've not seen him. Oh, bet the Waterman's got him.
Maybe the Waterman's got him. And Amos is like, what the fuck are you talking about? Joe finds out at this point that Amos is a runaway. He hasn't told his parents where he's gone. but nobody's looking for her, is what she says. Oh, they're going to go to sleep around a camp. They built a campfire. They're going to go
the
sleep.
first night in the bush.
And a lot of noise starts because bush and woods noise.
Coyotes
And wild horses are mentioned.
So Gunnar and Joe decide that only one of them can sleep at a time, and the other needs to take watch.
And Gunnar's asked if he will take the first watch.
Yeah,
which he does. Mary and Amos are having a conversation about Gunnar at this point. She says, "Look, she's basically telling him off for shouting at him last night. She's like, you just need to see him. You need to be with him and be aware of him and know who he is." And he still doesn't tell her that Gunnar's not there anymore.
Back at the camp, we get shots of something flitting around Gunnar at the edge of the camp.
Something's running around him, which freaks him out, and because he thinks it's the Waterman, he thinks he's going to get caught.
He says, "Hello, Mr. Waterman."
Yeah,
and he draws the sword and goes to investigate.
And he finds a black rock hanging from a tree.
Yeah,
which we assume was left there by Mr. Boosie. Next day, cops are the sheriff's walking around the town asking people if they know who this kid is.
Yeah, they're putting posters up, canvassing the area.
Yeah, Amos goes into the bookshop because he knows that Gunnar's a bookie kid. He talks to the lady in the bookshop, tells the bookshop lady that Gunnar's missing. And she kind of she doesn't seem surprised by this, but
I thought this was weird because we never see the bookshop lady character after this again, and it was a bit like she was very much a
she's the one
who crutch, wasn't she?
She
Not
was
a real character.
She's the one who breaks the news to Mary, isn't she? Accidentally, but she's she's very concerned that Gunnar's missing, so she says she'll keep an eye out.
I feel like there was a couple of missing scenes.
Yeah,
without that character in it.
Yeah,
who was essentially Gunnar's only friend.
Yeah. Mary's trying to get Gunnar to eat some of the candy, but he won't eat it because it's stolen. And she mentions his mum during this. They're having another argument, and she mentions his mum, which he doesn't like, and they start fighting. And she tries to force him to eat some candy, and he doesn't want it, and they're screaming, and they're actually physically fighting with each other.
And suddenly there's a lot of what I've just called big noises.
Yeah, it's huge noise. The earth starts shaking, the ground's moving,
and then a load of birds fly past them.
Yeah,
and things are vacating the forest.
Yeah. So Joe just shouts, "Run!"
Yeah,
and they run really quickly, and a load of wild horses, a shit ton of wild horses.
Yeah, it's a stampede.
Flies out of this forest, and just they manage to get out of the way of it, and they all run past.
Dive into the
There's a stampede of wild horses. It literally comes out of nowhere.
I really liked the idea of this sequence, and I was like, "Oh, this." I'm with you at this point. I'm like, "Oh, this is really intriguing so far. I'm on this journey." I know budget's tight. It wasn't the best CGI of them when they were in front of the horses. Yeah. It was a bit shonky.
It was a bit green screeny.
Yeah,
it was. But that's budgets for you. There's
nothing you can do about
that. Meanwhile, the cops have gone into the general store to ask if they can put a poster up. Amos is there too. And the guy says, "I've seen this kid.
Yeah, he was
here yesterday with another girl, a very distinctive looking girl with a scar and blue hair."
Yeah, because he says to Amos, "Were you in the Navy?"
Yeah,
Amos was like, "How do you know that?"
Yeah. Back in the woods with Gunnar and Joe, it starts snowing.
Yeah, they find some more black stones.
Yeah, they find a few more black stones, and then it's snowing.
Yeah,
and Gunnar's really excited, but Joe's
magic. Things are happening in the woods.
Joe's disturbed by this because she's like, "It's July.
Yeah,
it doesn't snow in July. What's going on?" But it looks like it's snowing to me. It looks like it's snowing to Gunnar. Gunnar thinks it's really cool. This is the point now where Mary finally finds out that Gunnar's missing because
the lady from the bookshop rings to ask if anyone's seen him.
Yeah, rings to get some information, and Mary's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And so the kids decide they're going to camp out under it's almost like a rock formation.
Yeah, it's an old log. I thought.
Was it an old log?
Yeah,
a big log. Well, okay, it might be a log.
But whatever.
It was like a rocky outcrop of stuff. That's where they're going to spend the night. And he shows her his graphic novel. He talks her through what's going on in this novel. But that doesn't last very long because a big bug lands on Joe and she proper freaks out. Yeah. She proper goes all screamy about it.
Gunnar really laughs at it.
He really laughs at it.
He's like, "Why are you scared of that? You're like a badass.
You're this big ass scary girl." And he finds it. He proper laughs. This kid knows how to laugh.
Yeah, he does a good laugh.
He's got a really good laugh on him.
So Joe moves like up to the other end of this outcrop.
Does not
She's
like
right,
being laughed at.
draws a line in the mud and is like, that's your
Yes,
side.
this is mine.
my
Stay
side.
away from it.
And Gunnar just says, you take yourself too seriously.
Yeah,
Lighten up.
chill out a little bit. Mary confronts Amos because he comes home and she's like, "What the fuck? I can't believe you didn't tell me the kid was missing." And it turns out she's received a text
Yeah.
last night, but her phone wasn't turned on because she's ill, which Gunnar must have sent from Joe's phone.
Yes.
And it basically just says, "I'm fine."
He says, "I'm fine, Mum. I'm doing this for you."
Yes. And Mary's really angry that Amos lied to her. She's like, "I can't believe you didn't tell me that our kid was missing." And Amos says, like, "Look, no matter what, I will find him. We will find him no matter what it takes. We will get there. We will find him." Cut to that night. During the night, they are asleep under this rocky, loggy thing that they've fallen asleep under. And suddenly, Gunnar wakes up first, I think.
Yes.
And there's a lot of bugs on him.
Like thousands of cockroaches.
Yeah, and then Joe wakes up, she screams, and then all of a sudden, there are hundreds of thousands of, so much so that they actually get carried away down this like ravine.
I don't know if that's what happened. It did look like, I think there was just they were just covered in bugs and they kind of just slid on their asses down the hill.
But it looked like they were sliding on cockroaches.
Yeah.
There was a lot of
again,
them.
I think that was the CGI problem.
But it freaks them out. They're both screaming at it. Gunnar's not finding this hilarious anymore. They run, they get away, they manage to go away from where they were. But unfortunately, they've lost their backpack.
This annoyed me because I was like, no, it's fine with the scene.
Yeah.
The bit that annoyed me, and maybe this is really nitpicky, but it's when when Gunnar said, "We've got to go back. The food's there, the stuff's there, my backpack," and Joe just went, "No, I'm not going back.
I'm never going back there." Yeah.
And I was like, "No, they'd go back."
You would go back, I think. You've lost everything.
Yeah.
They hadn't even got coats.
No, exactly. Exactly.
They were only in t-shirts now.
Yeah.
And they lost the sword.
They still had the sword.
They still had the sword.
That was the only thing they did.
But they did lose the backpack of all the food and all the supplies.
Yeah.
You're right, they would have gone back.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
No.
Joe wants to go back completely. Joe's like, "I'm done with this. Let's just go home. Forget all about this." And Gunner's like, "I tell you what, we're too close. We've come too far.
Yeah.
But if we don't find him by tonight, we'll go back."
Yeah.
That's the
he's like, "Give me one more day."
Yeah. The sheriff rings Amos and says that she's managed to track down Gunner's scooter, which he left at the abandoned place where Joe lives. But there's a bigger problem here.
Yeah.
There's a huge forest fire that's broken out very nearby, and the sheriff needs to go off and deal with that.
She's got to lead an evacuation.
She can't deal with this missing kid anymore.
Yeah.
She needs to deal with this evacuation. So she's going to pass it on to her deputies.
Yeah.
They'll start looking after her.
I thought, again, I don't know if this is too nitpicky, but it annoyed me that the forest fire thing just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I was like, we could have had some hints earlier in this movie, and it just would have smoothed it out a bit, wouldn't it?
There's a couple of hints. The snow is the hint.
No, I know
that was the falling ash.
Yeah, I know.
I know you know, but I'm just saying this is one of the hints, and there are a couple of hints that it's coming. But yeah, I know what you mean. It did. All of a sudden, it was like, this is a massive emergency.
Yeah, but we literally cut to a long shot of like loads of fire, and I was just like,
the guy in the general store's watching it on the TV. When they're in the...
Is it on the TV?
It's on the
that
TV.
It says forest fire?
Yeah.
I missed that. Maybe it's my fault then. Not
when they go
that.
in to buy their supplies, he's like engrossed by something on the TV.
Yeah.
And there's like, you can see like flames and stuff that he's watching.
Pick up that it was that. Oh, that's my
I assume that's what he's watching, something with flames in. I didn't pick that up. I realised that afterwards though.
Right.
I didn't pick it up at the time. Because he's still watching it when they go in later on as well. It's still on the news.
I was literally just going to say, mate, I don't often say I want our trope back, but a news report might have been handy.
It was there, but it was a very small monitor up in the top corner of the screen. And then obviously what Gunnar thought was snow was ash falling on them.
Yeah.
Happened to us once. Do you remember? Were you here then when that thing blew up around the corner?
Yeah.
We were having a barbecue at this house once,
and one of the
substation just around the corner blew up.
Bang.
There's a huge bang, and then about 5 minutes later, all this ash started falling on us, and we were like, "What the fuck is going on?" That was so weird.
Yeah.
It just reminded me of that when that happened. Where did we get to? Yeah, so the sheriff's going to go off and sort out the evacuations. The deputies are going to take over the case. Amos says, "I'm going to go out there," because the cops are obviously not going to now.
And conveniently, just as he walks out the door to go and head into the woods,
literally.
Mr. Boosie turns
He
up.
does at the house, and he says, "Are you Gunner's father? I've met Gunner. I know where he's going, and
Let me tell you the story.
yeah, let me tell you the story. He's going to the Wild Horse Forest, which is the convenient name for a forest full of wild horses, and he's going to the Horsetail Falls, the waterfalls. That's the place to get into these woods." And then Amos just goes, "Okay, cool, thank you," and then drives off.
Well, he gives them the map, doesn't he?
He does. He gives him the map, but I feel like you've not asked enough questions there.
No.
You need to be asking this guy, how do you know all of this? How have you met my son? What the fuck is a Waterman? And can you please come with me to these woods that you clearly know everything about? Yeah, I'm like, yeah. That scene didn't quite sit right with me. I'm like, you would have asked more questions there. So anyway, Amos now knows where to go. Yeah. He's going to these waterfalls that's the way to get into the forest. When he gets close enough to the forest, there's a police roadblock in the way because obviously they're evacuating this place. Yeah. They don't want people driving in. So what does Amos do? Drives through it.
And it really, I know, going back to the ET thing, but it's got real vibes of when the kids drive the bikes over the roadblock. I think
it really has.
Can I give a criticism of this movie though?
Yeah.
There's not enough people in it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Like, the town's dead.
Yeah, there's nobody in this
But
town.
I don't think it's not supposed to be a dead town.
It's supposed to be a quiet backwater town, but it's not supposed to be dead.
But when the sheriff's going, I've got to lead this evacuation. I'm like, from where?
Yeah, that's exactly my fault. What are you evacuating? Because you're not evacuating
it's in the forest.
Yeah, you're not evacuating this
and
town.
you're not doing anything around the town.
No.
And it was just like, I don't know if it is a minor thing, but I didn't feel the town was alive.
No, I agree. Never felt like there was any danger to the townspeople.
Spent so much time doing all these beautiful shots through the woods and the scene, and we've not really mentioned that yet. When you actually are in the woods and the drone shots and the cinematography and the colours,
it's beautiful.
It looks beautiful.
It is beautiful.
But yeah, I didn't feel that the town was alive.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And we do come across that quite a lot, and it is a budgetary thing.
Yeah,
we do come across that. We say that quite often. But you're right. Even at this point, there could have been a lot of cars driving the other direction. Yeah. Just have a lot of cars on the road just beeping and driving. And
it's like felt like this was supposed to be a really dramatic moment of him busting through this roadblock, but all he has to do is slightly
just drive
a bit of a hairpin around.
He doesn't even break any barriers or anything. He just
fences.
Drives around a car.
Yeah,
it's it's a funny one. Anyway, we come back into the forest at this point. Joe and Gunnar have come across a river, and they need to cross it. And there is a fallen tree conveniently placed across this river. So Gunnar's like, well, fuck it, I'm just going to cross it. Joe doesn't want to cross it. She's now being the cautious one. He's being the adventurous one. So Gunnar starts walking across this tree. Obviously, what does he do?
He slips.
He slips, and the sword sheath gets stuck around a twig.
Yeah,
and that's the only thing that holds him up. And he's like screaming because he can't swim.
Yes, and it is quite the raging torrent.
There's a raging torrent going on underneath him. And he screams at Joe. He's like, "You need to save me. I can't swim. I'm really scared." Blah, 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 blah. And Joe didn't want to cross this thing in the first place, but she makes no bones about it. She goes straight out there. She helps him up. She gets him on the log. And then Gunnar's like, "Right, well, we're halfway across now.
Might as well do the rest." And they scoot over on their butts.
On their butts. It's almost like he tricked her into doing it. He didn't, but that's almost like what he did. But yeah, she basically saves his life at that point. The cops now identify who Joe is. They've managed to get an ID on who she is.
It's because the text message that went to Mary, they've matched it to the phone that belongs to her.
Along with the description from the guy from the shop. And so the sheriff goes off to see Joe's dad, who lives in a trailer somewhere. And he's not a very nice guy. He's very vague about his relationship with his daughter.
Racist.
Very racist.
Because the sheriff holds up the missing poster of Gunnar.
Yeah. And
Joe's dad is just like, she wouldn't be friends with people like that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, right, we're doing that, are we?
Yeah, this is this guy. He's very vague. He's not interested in he doesn't know the last time he saw Joe.
No,
he isn't interested.
He's
in
like,
the fact that
he says, "Like summer,
she'll be fine.
Whatever.
Don't worry about it." Yeah. He's a bit of a dick, but he's the only scene he's in. So.
And the sheriff says to him, "I'm quite interested in this hospital report I have. From last month, in which she required 15 stitches in her neck.
Yeah.
Would you happen to know anything about that?"
Yeah.
And he says,
No, nothing to do with me. Joe then says to Gunnar again, "Look, we're done. Let's go back. We need to go back." And she actually says to him now, "It's all a bunch of crap."
He pushes her. He's pushing her and pushing her, and he's like, "You've been here before. What are you so worried about? What are you so scared about?"
I've never been here before. I don't know where we are. I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
I was lying all along. I was just trying to con you out of your money. The scar's not from the Waterman. And this is the point.
They're both crying now.
They're both crying, and he tells her about his mum.
Yeah.
He's like, my mum's going to die if we don't find him.
They're both good, aren't they?
They're great.
Kids?
Both of them are great.
Really good.
Really good. Yeah, they are. They really, both of them carry this movie.
Yeah.
Because is it fair to say the adult actors are not great?
I don't know if they're not great, but they've not got much to go on, have they?
Even David Oyelowo. I don't think he was even that great.
It's interesting, isn't it? Considering he directed the movie.
Yeah.
Do you think he's gone actively? I don't want to give my character all this showy.
Possibly.
I don't know, because I felt, again, as he's now tearing through the bush looking for his kid. I mean, I'm literally full pelt, and I know he's a military guy. He's a fit guy. Don't get me wrong. This character.
He runs at 100 miles an hour through a burning forest.
But I'm like, I could have done with a bit more about his journey to catch up with them as well. There was just certain bits where I was like, I wanted a bit more to make this a complete movie experience rather than a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought, I wonder if there's been some stuff left on the floor. If that was him actively going, I don't want to be showy.
Yeah.
Because I'm now directing it. I don't know.
Could be, absolutely could be. The kids are still arguing at this point. This is the point where he tells her that his mum's dying. And I really like the line from Jo here. She says, that means you definitely need to go home and spend time with her while she's still alive.
It's like, why are you out here? You need to spend all the time you can with your mum.
Why she's still alive? Go and spend the time with her. I really like that line. I was like, that's like cool. She says she's going back. She's like, I'm done. You can stay out here if you want.
Yeah, so they go separate ways.
They go their separate ways. They split up. She literally, within 2 minutes, calls after him and starts going back for him. She's like, she changes her mind straight away. But he's managed to get away very quickly. Gunnar's now alone. He's coughing. The woods are getting smoky. It's almost like he hasn't noticed. It's possible that he hadn't at the state of mind that he was in. Joe's following behind, looking for him. She's also choking and smoking. And
then we cut to Mary on the porch at home. And this seems to be where the money went on the special effects, because there's a really nice shot of fire and
in the
smoke
background. She's
looming over the town.
She can just see it from the porch of the house, and she's just watching it, and like you can tell she's terrified. Gunnar then comes across a cabin in a clearing
and a lake,
and he slowly pulls his sword. He approaches the door and he goes inside. Yeah, and there's nobody there.
No,
it is abandoned. It's not abandoned.
But there are signs
there.
Of life.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
No one is currently in the shack.
And then suddenly he hears somebody coming.
There are footsteps.
So he hides under the bed. He scoots under the bed and hides. And this big man, comes in,
clad in fur,
all in furs. You never
dripping.
See his face, and he's wet. And he knows Gunnar's there.
Yeah,
and he says, "I've seen you." He doesn't even turn around. He just says, "I've seen you walking through the forest."
And he's got like this ragged breathing, and it's like, I really liked the look and design of the Waterman.
I did as well.
It was great.
Agreed.
Really ominous.
Really ominous. Really, really well done. And he says, look, he knows the kid's name. He calls him Gunnar Boone, and he says, it is dangerous what you have done to come here.
Gunnar tells him about his mum.
Yeah, it does. It tells him everything. And the Waterman picks up the yellow stone that he owns. He does have this yellow stone.
Yeah, it's got it around his neck.
And he says the dead rise, but will outlive all they know.
Yeah, he says the power you seek comes at a heavy price.
Because it can bring back people to life, but they will become immortal.
Yeah. He says, I died in a flood, and I've been searching for my wife ever since. The hope is the only thing that keeps me going.
Why would I give you all the hope I have?
Yeah.
Because he's like, why would I stop looking for my wife to come and look for your mum? He then hears Joe calling for him in the background. And the Waterman gets angry at him. He's like, you have abandoned your friend for this.
Yeah.
He's like, you've left your friend out there. It made you see what you wanted to see. It made you see me.
Yeah, your hope.
Yeah. Your hope. And it turns out he's not really there.
It turns into a
drawing
that we've seen before, like in the graphic novel. And then the shack starts to do the same around him.
Not really there either. And suddenly Gunnar's just alone in a clearing in a fire
by the lake. And he's just like frozen.
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck has just happened?
Basically.
And he can hear Joe calling and screaming and shouting because she's not also stuck in this fire. So he goes to her. He goes to fight. He finds her. He manages to get to her, but they're both now trapped in this forest fire. And then Amos comes running out of the bush. Before Amos turns up, she tells him, "My dad gave me this scar."
Yeah.
She confesses to him that. And Amos finds them, and he says, "Look, we need to get out of here, and to do that, we need to swim."
Yeah.
And he asks Joe if she can swim. She can. And Gunnar freaks out. He's like, "I'm not going in water. I can't swim." But Amos says, "Look, I will get you through it. Don't worry. I've been in the Navy."
Take you.
Why there's a man in the Navy whose son can't swim is a bit strange.
And Amos is essentially in, by my calculation of the timeline, about half a day.
Yeah.
Caught up with them, the journey that's taken them best 3 days, 2 nights.
Yeah, I think that's explained by the fact that the guy Boosie knew where to go and where to get in.
And Amos pelts it
through, and the kids might have been walking around in circles for all we know. But and Boosie says to him exactly where he needs to go in to get into the woods, and it is a different place to where the kids go in. So I can kind of forgive it. I think. That's fine. And they manage to get home. We don't see any of the getting out of the forest, but we do see them swimming for a bit, and then in the next scene they're coming home. They get home to Mary, and there's a nice reunion scene between the whole 3 members of the family. Cut to the cops taking Joe away from her dad's trailer.
Yeah, I presume she was being taken by child services.
Yeah, I think so. I think I got that idea that's what was going on.
But she's happy. She's happy.
Yeah, she's smiling. Because Gunnar's there watching from a car while this is happening, and she smiles at him. Amos has brought Gunnar a load of new art supplies to carry on his writing. But Gunnar says, "I'm done. I'm done with drawing. I don't want to draw anymore."
I really like this scene. It was a good bit of acting
between the pair of them.
The two of them.
Because he says, because Amos says to him, "Well, what about your graphic novel? You need to finish it." And he's like, "I can't figure out the ending. I don't know how it ends." And he says, Amos says it's a great story. I've read it.
Yeah.
And you will figure it out. It will come to you.
Stick with it.
Just stick with it. It will go to it. And Jay, I'm getting all the names mixed up. Gunnar says to him, "If you had the choice," I thought this was like one of our questions that we do at the beginning of the wave. Would you pick a short life with a lot of love over a long life with none in it?
And Amos says, "If I could only have a short life, but your mother was in it, then I would choose the short one every time."
And Gunnar says, "Me too."
Yeah.
And they then sit down and have a meal together. All of them, including Joe, is at this meal. They're having Chinese food again.
No, they're not. They have burgers.
Oh, do they?
Amos has burnt them.
Oh, of course. Sorry, you're right. He has. He's burnt the burgers on the barbecue. I don't know where I got that idea from. And Joe's with them, and she seems to be. I don't know if she's living there now or she's there as a friend.
A frequent visitor.
Sure, yeah. The mums start saying grace as they before they eat, and that's how the movie ends.
Well, Gunnar just smiles.
He does. Yeah, he's happy. He's
and then I've got a bone to pick with Netflix now.
Okay.
Because the end credits start to roll.
Yeah.
And essentially you see the graphic novel that Gunnar has written. And Netflix makes it really difficult for me to watch this.
It's hard to watch credits on Netflix.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah, it's a shame.
Because it's really difficult to stop the trailers from work for the next one. Because I really like the artwork.
Yeah, there is a really cool montage of all the different drawings, and they're all alive as well, aren't they? And that's how your movie ends. What do you think?
I really liked it.
I thought it was great. I had a great time with it.
It
has its issues.
Yeah, it does. It does. And some of them are minor, some of them are a bit bigger, but it's a good movie and it looks beautiful. Some of the special effects are a bit dicey, but this is a nice homage to things like E.T.
Yeah. Even things like Stand By Me.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Super 8.
Yeah.
It's that sort of vibe.
That's a good answer for a coming of age movie.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? And I think the performances by the two kids were awesome.
Yeah, both of the two kids were brilliant.
And I think the legend of the Waterman is really intriguing. Bit different to something you've heard of before.
Definitely.
It's atmospheric. It's nearly a really good movie.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
That's exactly my thoughts on it. My biggest issue with it is you don't get enough time with the Waterman at the end. I think Not much longer I needed, but I did need a little bit longer, I think, because all this way we've been built up.
I'd have liked to have seen Gunnar be in a bit more danger.
Yes. Yeah.
I think.
I'd maybe have liked to have seen the Waterman go with him for a little while and then just disappear. There was 2 minutes, maybe 3. It wasn't enough of that. That's my biggest query with the film. But overall, I think it's really good.
Yeah, the vibe. It's just got a throwback vibe to it, hasn't it? This is an Amblin 80s Spielberg type movie. That's what it's shooting for, and to some extent, it manages to do
with
that
the right budget. It could easily be that as well.
Yeah.
It's only its budget restrictions that are holding it back. I think.
Why do you think Disney passed on this?
I don't know.
Because there's some shit on Disney Plus.
There is a lot of. Maybe if they had Disney Plus at the time, they wouldn't have passed on it. I don't know.
Maybe.
But yeah, it's an interesting. I think you've got to mention the Monster Calls, because I think it's a very similar idea to it.
It's a similar idea, but it goes nowhere near as heavy on
no. It doesn't go anywhere near as heavy. It's like Monster Calls light.
Does this movie do it a disservice by not? It doesn't pull on the heartstrings enough, maybe because of the mother's illness.
I think that might be my issue, is the fact that if a Monster Call doesn't exist, I would maybe have got into this one a bit more. But I'm like, that movie does this, and it does it so well to the point where it's devastating.
But I more felt that
this one doesn't go far enough.
The choice was taken.
Yeah, it was.
That's not the focus.
Yeah, 100%.
That was not the focus.
It was. That's a deliberate choice. They don't want this to be.
Did it pull its punch a bit?
Yeah, I think it did a little bit, and it's a shame because it doesn't need to go much deeper into it.
Yeah.
But I think it does need to go a little bit deeper to be a really, really good film. Yeah. This is a good film.
It is a good film.
You've picked very well here. Yeah. This is a good film.
I really enjoyed it. I think
I didn't want it to end, and that's unusual for one of these films that we do on the show. I really got into it. I think, and it is because those two kids are so good. Yeah, both of them.
And maybe I'm not trying to sound negative, because I did really enjoy it, but I think it was a case of being close to being next level. It wasn't quite.
It really was, but it doesn't quite get there.
Yeah. But I think there's a good concept here. Like I say, the animation effects are great.
Yeah.
The graphics, good performances. I like the concept. The Waterman's a cool concept.
It is. I'd like to see more from it. It's such a cool concept that it falls a little flat when you don't really get a payoff from it.
Yeah.
But it's just a niggle.
Yeah.
There was points in this movie where I was like, "You son of a bitch! you might have a contender here." There was definitely points in it, and I'm not saying you haven't. Yeah. I'm just saying there was points where I was like, "You really might have done this."
It's a good film.
It's a really good film. What's the best thing about
it? I'm torn between the performances of the two kids, or just it looks great. The cinematography is great. When we're not talking about like CGI stuff, it's well shot.
Yeah,
and I think it is. My issues aren't with the direction; they're more with the script. I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think what you've done is create a really cool legend of the Waterman. It's a cool character.
Yeah,
it's got a great backstory, really interesting story, and then it doesn't pay off, and it really feels like a letdown of that character.
Yeah,
and it's a shame because it's a really interesting.
I think this almost just needed a bit more of the sort of, like we were saying about the town not quite feeling alive. It needed just a little bit more of world building, like more of the. I'd have liked a longer scene when Joe was explaining to all the kids the Waterman. That would have helped build the legend up a bit more, and the kids buzzing around this thing is out there. Blah, blah, blah. I just think there's a few more scenes would have helped just build it a little bit more.
I'd have liked to have seen more scenes. You could have had the Waterman watching them the whole time.
Yeah,
because if he was in Gunner's imagination, then he's there the whole time. And you could have had scenes of him just being... Because there's that scene where he's like, something's running around Gunner at night. Yeah. And you don't know what that is. You never find out what that is. I'm assuming it's horses. But you could have had the Waterman being there in the background, because it's such a cool look for a character as well. It would have looked great to just be there in the background. Yeah. And then eventually you find out what that is. And that's when you get this reveal that it's all in his head. And he can't help his mother, and... This man is this Boosie is a crazy man who just comes up with this character and tells you that it's real when it's clearly not. What would you change about it? Did I ask you that?
All that stuff we've just said.
I agree.
It's fine.
Right, should we talk Stream Table?
Yeah, let's do it.
14 films in the stream table currently. Do you want me to read from all? Do you want me to read the top 10, the top 5? Where
you
we go
do
with
whatever
this?
you want to do.
Number 14 is Spaced Out. Number 13 is Buddy Games. Number 12 is Here Are the Young Men. 11, Freaks, You're One of Us. 10, Mercy. 9, Sweet Girl. 8, Still Time. 7, Girlfriend's Day. 6, Cadaver. 5, It's Catty Catty. 4, Don't Listen. 3, Against the Ice. 2 is The Humans. And currently at the top of the stream table is Warriors of Future, which was my wildcard pick. Where does this one go, Nick?
I think there is an argument that this is the best movie we've seen this season.
Agreed.
However, I'm not sure it's my favourite movie I've seen this season. And I think it just, in terms of being top of the pile, I'm not sure it quite stuck it.
There was points all the way through this movie where I was like, this is going top. This is the best movie we've seen this season, and by quite a long way.
Yeah.
And then by the end, I'm like, I'm not quite sure if it is. I'm not quite sure if it makes it, but it's definitely 1 or 2.
That's really interesting. Because I kind of been thinking about this a bit today, and I was like, I could come in here, and I reckon I could give a real good go at getting this to the top.
You could.
Because there's loads to like about it.
I genuinely think you could persuade me.
And I'm like, I thought this was a bit of a tactical play, because I was like, if this does hit those 80s vibes,
Yeah.
we're both going to like this.
I knew you, but that's what you were thinking.
We're both going to like this because it's going to play on the sort of nostalgia thing, but it's a modern version. And I think it was really close. And I really enjoyed watching it. And I could see me, for example, I think my eldest daughter would love this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think she would.
I think my wife would as well. And
Yeah.
I can see me watching this with them. And me next time we've got a movie evening or whatever, what do you want to watch? This could be a suggestion. I think everyone would really like it. However, I've got to be completely honest. Technically, yes, it might be the best movie we've seen this season, but I can't put it. I can't put it at number 1. I can't quite put it at number 1.
That's very fair of you to say.
I'm not sure I want to put it at number 2.
Really? Now that is interesting.
Because when I think back to The Humans, that was an experience.
That is an experience.
So I'm more saying, is it 2 or is it 3?
Okay.
That's kind of where I'm sitting. I don't know about yourself.
See, when this movie finished last night, I was like, I don't quite think this has made it to number 1, but I will absolutely, if Nick wants it to be at number 1, I will put it there. Even though that would knock mine off the number 1. I genuinely think this is up there between those two movies. And I hadn't even considered the fact that it might not be above The Humans.
Yeah.
And I don't think I can.
I just thought it was so... The Humans is so something else, isn't it?
Yeah. The Humans are an anomaly. It's such a weird film, but it's really well done. It's a really good story. And maybe this does appeal to my nostalgia.
God damn it, it's bleak.
Oh, it's bleak. This film's bleak. That film's really bleak.
And the thing that obviously Warriors of the Future has, it's stupid, but it's just fun.
Yeah, it's really good fun. And
do you know what? It's a great double bill, actually.
Yeah, it really is. If this film had stuck the landing, I'd be like, you've beat me. You've done it. Well done. But I don't think it quite sticks the landing, and I think that's all that's wrong with it. And I would be disappointed to see it go lower than second.
Yeah, it's I think what you got is a clear top 3.
Yeah.
In terms of the table so far. So
yeah, there's a gap.
I will graciously have this at second.
It wouldn't have taken much more for me to want this to be better than Warriors of Future. It didn't need to do a lot more.
No, it was
but
very
just
close.
Didn't quite make it.
Yeah.
It's a shame. But it's a great
It didn't
pick.
quite have the emotional heft that I was expecting.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about it when you picked it. I didn't watch the trailer.
It's a proper hidden gem.
It really is a proper hidden gem, and there's something about it's really. I feel like I'm going to be thinking about this film for a while, and something about it's really got to me. I very much enjoyed watching this film, and yeah, I don't think it quite sticks the landing, which is a real shame. But if it had done, I would have said this is number 1 by a distance. But unfortunately, it doesn't quite make it.
But it's a strong recommend.
Strong,
I'd say
strong. Go out and watch it.
Go and watch The Waterman.
The Waterman's going into second in the stream table. We've got
It'll give you those throwback feels, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But it feels quite modern as well.
Yeah.
It's
that whole kind of, it's Stranger Things. It's modern, but it's in the 80s. This isn't set in the 80s, but it
feels like it is.
It's a movie that doesn't get made much anymore.
No, absolutely. And it could easily have been set in the 80s.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have made it better. Who knows? Right. Second. Well done. Good pick.
Yeah.
Me and you at the top of this table together. How does that feel?
It feels good. Bring it on, everyone else.
Can't steal this one from me. In joke. Right. We need to call on Robin then, do we, to pick next week's movie?
We sure do.
We do indeed.
As far as I'm aware, unless someone else is
I'm not aware
throwing a gauntlet down.
I'm not aware of a 2 weeks in a row wildcard being played, so we need to call on Robin to give us a film for next week. What do you want him to pick? What you want to watch?
I think I'm a fairly open book after that.
Yeah?
Let's or maybe another action movie. We're not an action movie for a while.
Okay, I'm up for that. I'll take that. Shall I press the button?
Yes, please.
He has picked a movie called Blood and Gold. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, that's really right. I'm going to share something with you now.
Okay.
And I know there's no one else in this room.
Right.
But just to paint everyone else a picture, you have the randomizer.
I do.
You have pressed the button.
I have.
And Blood and Gold has come out.
It
The
has.
reason I say that's weird is because I was really back and forth for my wild card whether to play The Waterman or that movie that's just come
Oh, really?
out.
Robin's playing with your mind.
Yeah.
He's mind gaming you.
So
Interesting.
I do know a bit about it, yeah.
Okay.
It's a Second World War action flick.
It is. It's from this year. It only came out in May. It's really recent. Really, really recent. Do you want a synopsis?
Yes, please.
There's another Netflix original as well. How has this not been heard of? It came out in May. It's an 18.
Yeah.
It's for 1 hour and 38 minutes. According to IMDb, it is an action drama war movie. Do you want the synopsis?
Yes, please.
It's a long one.
Brilliant.
Set in the spring of 1945, just before the end of World War II, Elsa and Heinrich quickly realise that they have more in common than the common enemy. Both fight for justice against the Nazis and for their families. Heinrich is looking for his daughters, but in Elsa's remote village, a Jewish treasure of gold is hidden that the Nazis want to plunder. This is an action-packed search for the treasure. What? Okay, I'm going to cut those two words out. An action-packed search for the treasure begins. Villagers against the SS, and the greed for gold brings secrets to light that ends in bloody showdown in the village church.
Okay. It's very descriptive.
Very. We even know how it ends.
Would say possibly not a synopsis.
Agreed. 6.5 on IMDb, and it is German.
Interesting. We didn't reflect on the Waterman IMDb rating, which feels really harsh to me, actually.
5.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, really harsh.
Anyway.
It's a much better movie than that. This one's 6.5. So, interestingly, what made you pick the lower rated movie?
I watched both trailers and thought they both look fun. But I just got a vibe. I just got a vibe for the Waterman.
Okay, and you were correct to get that vibe. So yeah, we're going to watch a German take on the end of World War II next week. Okay. So go out and watch Blood and Gold, and in the meantime, check us out on Instagram. Not Twitter, don't bother with Twitter anymore. And Letterboxd at BOTS_podcast is our username. If you want to drop us an email, our email address is bottomofthestream@gmail.com, and our website is bottomofthestream.com. On our website, you will find every episode we've ever recorded. Loads of other cool stuff, all the stream tables, and you can even get some merch if you want to buy a Bottom of the Stream.
E-scooter.
E-scooter?
That was what was wrong with this movie. He was on an e-scooter. He should have been on a chopper.
Yeah.
Or a BMX.
It was like a modern
that would have
take
put it
on
at
an
number
8.
one.
It would have put it at number one. I think this movie maybe should have been set in the 80s. Maybe would have made it better. I've lost track of where I am.
Sorry.
E-scooters. Go and do that. Why not? After you've done all that, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/bottom of the stream. On there, for £5 of your English pounds every month, you will get early access to the movie show. You will get a Bottom of the Stream season 1 to 8 poster. You will get a secret access area in our Discord where you can come and chat to us and the rest of the patrons and nobody else. And you will also get a wild card, which means you can do what Nick's just done, pick a film for the week. If it's the best one, you will win a prize. And then when you've done all of that, head over to Discord. The Discord is a group of wonderful, fun-loving people who like movies and will talk to you about literally anything. We play games. Every first Sunday of every month, we do a watch-along. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. Loads of cool stuff goes on in the Discord. It's really, really great.
It is. If you can spare a few minutes, please consider leaving us a review anywhere you can review or rate podcasts, because it helps. It really does help. It helps more people see our show, listen to us, and we can make more friends, get more people in the Discord, and more people can watch these occasional hidden gems that we find.
We've just found one.
And the absolute terrible stuff we find the other weeks, but that's still just as fun. So yeah, you can do that anywhere that you find podcasts, places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Podbean, all the others. There's hundreds. We're on them. Come find us.
We are indeed. So yeah, go out and do all of that, and we'll be back on Monday for The Wave and next Thursday for The Movie Show.
Cheers!
Bye!